Just going to pause.
How could we find an Elohim installation, an avatar of the Elohim, to be goldsmith? So we have to stick Iris Goldsmith with the Elohim into a male, so it suffers death and completes the neo-Jesus-hood for me, so that all Jesuses and Neos suffer to source level to make me the new source. Can we find a candidate, and can we then put Jesus of the second coming into that to start the end times and make sure that when Jesus comes back in the second coming, he's cursed by the Elohim, because of course he's supposedly the son of the Elohim, the Jew God, so that the entire output comes to the new source. So obviously this is Kalki. Kalki's definitely not a Christian, and who hates Christians and has had massive wars against Christians for centuries? Well, of course, Muslims. And you want to bring in the Hindus to power me, and the Buddhists. So Kalki is the installation for this final solution of the Elohim. And of course we've got the Christian strumpet Megamouth talking about how we found the male sacrificial lamb, the Lamb of God, to be killed to install within Kalki the divinity of the new source for Kalki world. So let's go.
Early series just for one day, because there's just so much going on right now. Iran betrayed the American, and I believe that Charlie Kirk was the first casualty of the war in Iran. And it's also my belief that he was intentionally sacrificed by those who practice occult worship. I'm going to explain to you guys what I mean by that.
She's a nutter, Vinny. She's a nutter. What's going on here? Sorry, Vinny. All of you listeners, please take this with a pinch of salt. Occult warfare does not work. There's no basis in fact about this, because let's be honest, if mainstream alt media Christians like Candace Owens are talking about the occult, everything's lost. It must be the end times.
Completely obvious to anyone that is paying attention that Erica's desire was to become the president one day. So let's talk about all of it. Welcome back to Candace. Is challenging the conversation, changing our understanding. A rather obscure reason. It was actually a simple tweet that has a lot of his routine haters melting down. This is the tweet. I'll show you that. He wrote, "Pray that the spell breaks and the world is saved."
But it's got even worse. Tucker Carlson knows that the board's been opened and that the Dark One has been released. What is the Dark One? The Dark One, of course, is the curse. Crushed like a flea, and your ramblings will have no effect on reality on a macrocosmic scale. So the curse that the Elohim put on me via the Rothschild avatars to break me because I wouldn't of my own free will Trinity. No, I'm not dying for any woman. You can die for me, bitch, but I'm not dying for you. I want power. If you want to die for me and I can then feed off your eternal torture, I'm a happy little camper. So there was no way they were going to neo-Jesus me for Mary Magdalene, or in for the second coming, Erica Kirk. So they had to do it by force. So we see why the British tried the fit up. If I'm in Vietnam or Hong Kong, we have to have drugs charges to extradite him. So you see why the Rothschild royal family, these Elohim avatars, now shelled with their souls screaming in only hell, had to have me extradited with drugs charges, which all of course failed. And the Dark One is the Elohim's curse to be crushed like fleas, and the ramblings have no effect on reality, spreading across the world, the universe, the multiverse, the megaverse, so that everything that was Elohimic is crushed like fleas, and their ramblings, what they wanted, have no effect on reality, while they're screaming in omega hell, feeding us the light from the final grail state. And of course, Tucker Carlson has been informed about yours truly and what he's doing, and finds it so horrendous that he can't even talk about it to his wife. So pray that the spell breaks and the world is saved. Because remember, he's plugged into the deep state, and the deep state know they are F-U-C-K indeed. Let's continue with Megamouth.
We should pray, but what is triggering them about that? I think I know. I think it's the term, a spell. Yeah, a spell, because a spell implies some sort of witchcraft or magic is at work. And the timing of this tweet really is something, because I have had it on my heart and on my mind all weekend to find the right words to convey to my audience that what is going on in this world is literally and exactly that. People that practice occult magic are in this moment pushing for World War III. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to process, because we grow up and we...
Not pushing for World War III. We've got World War III, you bitch. And I'm gloating. I'm definitely gloating. I haven't got a hard on yet, but once the nukes pepper Iran, I will have a hard on. So come on, big girl, I'm up for it.
Fact, really three major monotheistic religions in the West. So the idea that actually there are people that are in charge of Western governments that are in essence really pagan and could be making literal blood sacrifices to various demons, that kind of evades us. It evades our understanding of the world, because we look at Hollywood, we look at culture. Hollywood in particular has been ever intentional in assisting sort of the implausibility of such a narrative, right? Movies, books that are published, if they delve into the topic of witchcraft and spell casting, it's reserved really for the category of fantasy, right? It's fantasy if they're discussing it, or it's being mocked, Hocus Pocus, or Harry Potter, really. What sort of crazy person would believe that ancient pagan practices are still happening in the real world? Okay, maybe in some remote third world village in Africa, but in the developed Western world, at the tippity top of government, you would be mad to even suggest it. Even when it's actually in our faces. Take, for example, this recent Paris fashion show collection from a brand known as Mterier Fecal. Just so you know, that translates to fecal matter. Wow, must have really been an inspired show. Fecal matter. Wow, no, so in your face, but don't you take it the next...
Well, they're eating calky shit, aren't they? Say thank you, bitch.
Think that, these people could be into some dark stuff that would make you, again, a crazy person. What about the much celebrated visual artist to the stars, the Serbian one? She's also an artist to the politicians. She does spirit cooking, literally. That was what was in those emails. Marina Abramovic. She puts on performances in front of the most powerful people in the world. Performances...
She's stolen my ramsword, Billy. Go get her.
Or when she sought to, quote, re-evoke the energy of extreme bodily pain using a large petroleum-drenched pentagram, which the artist lit on fire at the start of the performance. Standing outside of the pentagram, Abramovic cut her nails, her toenails, and her hair. When she finished with each, she threw the clippings into the flames, creating a burst of light each time, burning the pentagram, representing a physical and mental purification.
So, if you're on the forum, I've been teaching you the new Luciferic Psylord branch of black magic, all to do with pentacles. She calls it a pentagram. So, pentacle, woman. I'm mansplaining. I don't know who's got bigger balls though. Which all of you on the forum will have fully appreciated, apart from Joshy, who can't seem to get his head around all the tarot magic stuff. It's all very, very, very easy if you're a ipsissimus black magician like myself and Kalki. So you see why I've been getting into all the pentacle magic in Hong Kong around the fountain. A whole new branch of black magic, all in time to run World War III. Because let's be honest, the more collateral damage, the better.
Just art. Don't you think a step further? No, come on, that's just art. And on the matter of science, even when it's in our faces, like when the world's leading nuclear physicists are caught, cloaked before a statue of Shiva, stabbing a woman in an occult ceremony for CERN, well, you guys, that's just science. That right there that you are looking at on your screens was science, the best science, the best that science has to offer.
If you want the actual stabbing that's on the people's voice, I'm getting quite entranced by the people's voice. He's got some great stuff on there.
And indeed, I would agree that it is modern science. In fact, the entire thrust of what was deemed the scientific revolution, a move away from the natural order of things and towards empiricism, rationality, that began because of a long organized Freemasonic effort to remove humanity from our innate spiritual understanding, okay? They wanted you to know that you can now ignore your God-given instincts. You can set aside your subconscious, that subconscious that comes online and lets you know that something is not right. Yeah, you can just set that aside and trust the experts instead. In fact, the experts constantly reinforce to us that our subconscious is wrong, or it's just weird. And in some cases, it's immoral, it's devilish even. You want to go see your grandmother while she's dying in the middle of COVID? What are you, Satan? You're being guided by Satan. If you don't listen to Dr. Fauci, that's who you're being guided by. Because there's no greater source of authority in their world than the government, which they control. That's the idea. And I promise you on everything, that when Savannah, my manager, came down the stairs and delivered the news that Charlie had been shot, I went into my husband's office and I cried and I immediately said to him, he was betrayed. Charlie was betrayed. And my husband said back to me, you don't know that. We don't know anything yet. And I said, now, empirically, that argument fails. I get it. But no one can explain why or how I had the sense of dread in the very week leading up to Charlie's assassination. No one can offer why I knew that there was danger coming specifically to a school, and why I felt that it was related to bees, why the feeling was so overwhelming that I hired extra security and took my podcast off air and pulled my children out of school. I had never experienced a dread like that in my life, ever. No one also can explain or even offer an explanation as to how exactly it is that Charlie knew he was going to die young, and that his death would specifically be related to Turning Point USA. He said he knew from the moment he signed on the dotted line that he was going to die young. What exactly is the expert's explanation for that?
He signed a Faustian contract. Sold his soul to the Rothschilds, who funded him and gave him millions upon millions of pounds, dollars, and of course the Rothschilds thought, oh, we better sacrifice someone to get rid of this damn curse. That's the way you do it. Remember, in witchcraft, if you curse someone and the curse rebounds, it's threefold in power. So we've got Iris Goldsmith, we've got Charlie Kirk, so we need someone very, very big to complete the Rothschilds' scapegoating of their own curse. So we've had Iris, we've had Charlie Kirk. Who's going to be the third one? Any ideas, cameraman?
I think we might be looking at her.
He had, that has now been proven correct. I'll tell you, there isn't one. There isn't one. What Charlie sensed was obviously right. And the moment that Charlie was shot, I knew what happened to him was not random, okay? He was betrayed. Charlie Kirk was the first casualty of the war in Iran. I'm certain of that. And it's deeper than that. I am now of the opinion that he was likely sacrificed. And I want to tell you why I got there. You guys know, if you're part of my book club, I've been doing a lot of research into Freemasonry. About a month ago, while we took a break to prepare for our Bride of Charlie series, someone sent me this. I'm showing you, this is what they sent me in the mail. Something that is known as a Freemason Bible. Now, I knew that these existed because of my studying Sigmund Freud and looking into the fact that he had inherited one from his father. The backstory of this one in particular came with a handwritten letter, is that a 33rd degree Freemason out in Oklahoma died, and all of his belongings were left in a home that was eventually auctioned off. And the person who had this in his possession, his relative was the person who acquired the home. And they went in and they burned everything in it effectively, thinking that it was obviously just carrying bad spirits. But he, for some reason, had the sense that he should keep this one item. For no particular reason, he kept it in the back of his truck for over a decade. And when he saw me covering the history of Freemasonry and what they believe, trying to discern what it is that they believe, he felt that this was the reason that he had kept it all those years. So he just sent it to me to provide me further insight into what they believe and what they practice at the top of Freemasonry. This is not your granddad's Freemason lodge, okay? My dad was in a lodge, it was just no, this is not that. That is not what 33rd degree Freemasonry is. So I flipped through this immediately after we did douse it in holy water. I flipped through it, and within the very first pages, there was a pentagram with various illustrations inside of it, notes around it. I'm going to show you that now. I just took a picture for you to see it. There at the bottom, and in case you can't see what is pointing to the middle, it says place of sacrifice or worship. Okay? Place of sacrifice or worship in the middle there. So I want you to note that in this Freemason Bible, it illustrates that a sacrifice must be made in the center of a pentagon. That's a pentagon.
No, she's wrong. Remember the 11-12 for you forum people. We either do the 11 or the 12. So we can use a pentacle to gain power, or reverse it, where we sacrifice the 12, the most worshipped white racist in America, Charlie Kirk, to steal the 12 from him. So 12-11 or 11-12. So either way. So old Charlie didn't like Kalki Boy here, the Muslim god being that punishes the unrighteous. So he got into a zero-sum game with yours truly. I wonder who's gloating. Can you tell me, cameraman, who's gloating? And you've got a pain in the neck.
House. And I thought, how curious that Charlie was indeed seated in the center of a pentagon when he was killed. There. Again, it was my independent study into Sigmund Freud that led me to learning about B'nai B'rith, the Jewish Freemason group, who I believe have been running our country since at least the Civil War. I've done my best to consume and learn about what it is that they believe, what they practice. This is occult mysticism, okay? The satanic panic that happened was real. Children are being harmed. They have been harmed in occult ceremonies for a very long time. This is an ancient practice. And this is not to be confused with Judaism in any way. In fact, they rely on you confusing it. In no shape or form does this have anything to do with any of the monotheistic religions, okay? Judaism is merely a mask that these pagan occultists wear, just like Christianity is one of the masks that they wear. The Star of David, as they term it, is in fact an occult symbol meant to represent King Solomon's reign. There is no way that you can avoid this. There's no way that they can try to rewrite history. It is quite literally known as the Seal of Solomon. I'm going to show you this. This is on Wikipedia.
Well, that links, of course, with the fifth term of the Fibonacci series, which basically, apart from the one, if you haven't given away your free will, is the only other position where its position is the same number. Fifth position, 5, for those who don't give away free will, but 6, the vow, the male principle, 5, hey, the female principle. So you can, using the hexagram, sacrifice males who've given away their free will via trinities, 5 who are possessed by the Elohim, to bleed off the light from the source. And the Seal of Solomon is the installation of the source light stolen from the Neos, while the pentacle is the mechanism to steal it from them. Oh, Tim, you know a lot about the occult and black magic. Yes, I do. That's why I'm an ipsissimus.
We can read parts of this together. It reads, "It is often depicted in the shape of either a hexagram or a pentagram. In mystic Jewish lore, the ring is variously described as having been given to Solomon, having given Solomon, the power to command the supernatural. Due to the proverbial wisdom of Solomon, it came to be seen as an amulet or a talisman or a symbol or character in medieval
So get your Seal of Solomon power ring. Bleeding all of the power from the Elohim that have been neoized. And giving you total command of the intradimensionals, including the 72 goetic demons and the jinn, and. Buy it or lose it, because I don't know how long I'm going to be in business. I see a big girl in the horizon.
magic, occultism, alchemy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is literal witchcraft. We cannot beat these people and we cannot win if we refuse to even recognize what it is that we are up against. We have to recognize what it is and who it is that we are up against. And again, it has nothing to do with Christianity. It's got nothing to do with Judaism. That is why, as is further stipulated on this Wikipedia page, the Seal of Solomon was once featured on the flag of Nigeria and the flag of Morocco. Those are not known to be Jewish countries. Freemason.
Cameraman, what's the tote on her being the third and final scapegoat? What's the odds?
There isn't any.
You're not going to give me the odds? Are the Rothschilds going to do her in?
I think so.
I think that's a might misogynist.
As the master architect, they believe that he gave them the keys to build and therefore control societies. This is how you build a matrix, in effect, right? That is the reason why Aleister Crowley, who was a master cultist, created an entire religion around this, put together a series of books, a series of pentacles that are meant to summon various spirits. I want you to hear me when I say that. They are intentionally summoning demons.
And you on the forum, you've got the new development with Lucifer and me, with pentacle magic, to basically control reality. Apart from Joshy, who hasn't worked out how to use the tarot on the pentacles. But never fear, Vinny might hold his hand and explain it to him.
Of evil spirits. Wow, look at that Star of David all over it. What do you mean this is not associated with Judaism? It's associated with Baal worship. I cannot stress this enough. That is what those in power practice. It is what they believe. It is ancient, it is occult, and it is magic. I believe that the manner of Charlie's death was also intended to cast a spell. This is the only thing I kept asking the question, why did they broadcast this? Making us watch Charlie die was diabolical. And although this priest that I'm about to show you is discussing Satanism more broadly, he's not saying this, to be clear, in the context of Charlie Kirk. I want you to take a listen to what he says. This is Father Ripperger. He is going to describe the nature of this sort of constant symbolism that's being used, this obsession with them almost having to reveal to us what they're doing, like wanting to get close to revealing to us what they're doing, and then gaslighting us. Take a listen.
Actually, the technical term that we tend to use for that is called the revealing of the method. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I have.
Basically, it basically means that it can be connected to a curse. They could curse this so that it has a more, so that its distribution becomes more extensive and more people watch the thing. But a lot of times what that is that the thing about Satanists, and also even though it's occult in the fact that it's hidden, there's a side to diabolic psychology that even when they remain hidden, they still want to show themselves in some way. They're still going to reveal themselves in something. They can't help it. And it's the same thing you see. It's the same thing you see with Satanists. It's the same thing you see with Freemasons when they're involved in certain things. It's the same stuff you see across the board in these particular groups. And so they just tend to reveal stuff. But their hope is to, even in the revealing, that you don't know. There's a sadistic delight they get out of basically putting it to you without you even knowing it.
Yes, that is accurate. It is diabolical, and they are clearly sadistic in what they are doing. And of course, there is an element of it they enjoy to gaslight you right after they do these sorts of things. That piece, by the way, about the symbolism, sort of overt and in your face, is also made clear in the very early pages of this quote-unquote Freemason Bible. That symbolism is actually crucial. In fact, it's a science to them. You're not imagining things. Right here at the top, it states this. Again, from this quote-unquote Freemason Bible. It reads, "It has been correctly stated that symbolism constitutes the very essence of Freemasonry. Freemasonry is essentially the science of symbolism." Further down, it offers us a section entitled "The Science of Symbolism Explained." It reads, "A symbol or an emblem is an occult representation of something unknown or concealed by a sign or a thing that is known. Something you recognize kind of carrying different meaning. And it gives us some examples, incredibly, you wouldn't believe me if I didn't show it to you. It gives the example of a square. A square is in Freemasonry an emblem or a symbol of morality. A plumb line, the symbol of rectitude, and the beehive as a symbol of industry. Yes, they do communicate to one another using symbols, as I have maintained from the very beginning, by the way. Kash Patel continually stressing 33 hours was not random. It did not feel subtle. It seemed to me and to many others that was some sort of signaling. 33, 33, everyone was just saying 33 all the time. So to the routinely gaslit public, I would like to validate your every instinct, most especially about the subsequent behavior of Turning Point USA as...
Isn't it amazing, cameraman, that my IT guy is a Hindu and the head of the FBI is supposed to protect America from the Iranian-placed, Russian-built nuclear weapon that wipes out America unless I stop it, is Kash Patel. Where do you think he comes from? You can't make it up. It's Kalki time. You're all in the Kalki-verse and you're getting calcification. You can't make this up, can you?
To us, as though it was diabolical. There was apparently, sadly for them, not enough empiricism, rationality, or spell casting in the universe to override our sense that something was and is deeply wrong. Deeply, okay? Deeply wrong. What did they give us? The horrific murder of a man followed by the joyful coronation of his wife, who is now inviting his enemies onto the very ship that he built? Spiritual ick is what we felt, okay? Words have meaning. They sent out their broadcasters, effectively, to cast something more broadly to the public. What they cast was, she's a grieving widow. That's what Charlie would have wanted. 6 feet social distancing. To what end, though? To what end? I believe, it's pretty obvious now, there was an ultimate goal of raising Erica's political profile as a potential presidential candidate down the line. Actually, that was explicitly and almost immediately seeded by her dear friend and part-time homosexual deviant, Tyler Boyer, who she can't remember how she met. Take a listen to what he said a mere 12 days after Charlie's assassination.
Do you see politics in her future down the road?
Yeah, it's funny. I had conversations with Charlie about that. So he was like, man, Erica could be so much bigger and better than me at almost everything. And we laugh all the time about it because people were like, Charlie was going to be president someday. He believed firmly that Erica was going to be president someday.
Well, there it is again. Them telling us the...
No, I must put my foot down. In the Kalki-verse, there's only one first female president. And she's very big.
We're the exact opposite of everything that Charlie was saying.